Okay, so we are going to start our stained glass window design, and we are drawing a picture based on the story of the Nativity. So as you think about your stained glass, you also want to think about what part of the story from the Bible do you want to tell. Will we have the star, the wise men, the shepherds, the angel, maybe just Jesus? Do you want to include Mary and Joseph? All kinds of possibilities for you. The lines are always going to be dividing up our picture to make it look like those stained glass windows we saw from Europe. I'm going to start drawing. And when I draw my picture, I want to stick to very simple, basic shapes. So I don't want to put a lot of details right now. So if I'm going to draw manger, for example, I'm sticking to basic shapes for my manger, okay? And I want to think about not just lines, but shapes. So instead of making lines for my hay, I can make it into a shape by connecting it here. It's one big shape, okay? And that's one way to think about how you're drawing. So whatever I'm drawing, I want to think about basic shapes with no details, okay? And I want to draw nice and big because that's going to make it easier to do the other steps of my project. Alright, so once I have my main shapes drawn, now I want to think a little bit more about the stained glass and how I want to divide up the spaces. I didn't put faces on mine because I think those would be really small details, but you can decide for yourself if you want to try to do those or if it's going to be really small and you just want to leave them off. So I can do two things here. I can look for ways to divide up what I already drew by making some extra lines in them to break these pieces apart, okay? And notice I'm still leaving them as big spaces, so I don't want to make them too tiny. And I'm just using simple straight or curved lines. Okay, so now I've broken up my shape some, so now I have still my space behind it, like the sky area, and I'm going to divide that up too. Again, I'm just going to use simple straight or curved lines. Okay, and now my drawing's done. So my next step is that I have to trace my picture. So I can choose two ways to do this. I can either trace it with a black oil pastel or I can trace it with a black crayon. So I'm going to show you what both of those options look like so you can choose which one you like better. Okay, so here is with the oil pastel. And one of the things I like about the oil pastel is that it's super dark and nice and rich color, but it is a little harder because it's thicker, so it's harder to trace these lines. But you can see they look really nice. Okay. So I'm just going over all my pencil marks. Now I want to be extra careful because when I trace with Sharpie, I can erase my pencil marks. But when I trace with oil pastel, I can't erase my pencil marks. So if I miss my pencil marks and they're still showing, there's really nothing I can do about it. So you want to take your time and be careful, okay? So that is what it looks like with the black oil pastel. Let's see what it looks like with the black crayon. All right, so here I have my black crayon. So I am going to try tracing with this. And you can see it's still pretty dark. It's probably pretty hard for you to tell the difference, but the lines are a little thinner. Now if I press soft with my crayon, I don't see it very well. So you do have to press a little harder with this to make the lines dark. With the oil pastel, it just kind of comes off dark. but with the crayon I am going to have to press a little harder. But especially if I've got a lot of small details, it might make it a little bit easier to trace them because the crayon is more narrow and skinnier than the oil pastel. Okay, so this is the oil pastel and this is pressing hard with a crayon. If you choose to use a crayon, remember you don't want to press lightly because then it's not going to show up as much. You want to press nice and dark. Okay, so this is too light. Got to press nice and dark. All right, so this is what we're going to be working on today. If you don't finish tracing your picture today, you can trace it next time. And now I'm going to get ready to show you day 2. Okay, all right, day 2, you get to choose if you want to use chalk pastels or if you want to use watercolors. And I'm going to show you both so you can see what each of them looks like. It is a little bit messier to use the chalk pastels, so I don't know if you like messy or not, but you can also look and just see what you think looks better. All right, so if you're using the chalk pastels, you're also going to need Q-tips, and that's going to help you spread out the space, okay? So if I am coloring with the chalk pastels, one of the things is I don't want to go all the way to the edge and fill it in. I'm just kind of filling in some of the space, because then I'm going to use my Q-tip and I'm going to rub it into the rest of the area like that. Okay, so see, there is how you use the chalk pastels. So let's see a few more sections with this so you can see if you like it. Now notice I am not painting every section the same color. So when I get to a different section, I'm using a different color so that the exact same color isn't beside it. But see, I'm choosing colors that are kind of similar or the same because these are both blues. I'm just not putting the same blue side by side. Okay, and then I'm just using my Q-tip. If I'm going to blow off, now watch, I'm going to go, and I'm going to second, make sure I've swallowed my spit so I don't spit all over my paper. So go, and blow really softly, okay? Do not spit on your paper. All right, let's do a few more chalk pastel sections. Color in just some of the space. Don't worry about filling in all the white. So you're going to use your Q-tip, spread it out. All right, so there is part of using chalk pastel. Now let's look at using watercolors. So you guys know from last time with our last paintings we did that oil pastel resists the water. Crayon does the same thing. In the oil pastel, it's because of the oil doesn't mix with the water, and in the crayon, the wax resists the water. So either way, it doesn't matter which one you did, you can still do this. So it helps us because if we don't have to worry about accidentally painting over the lines. So I still want to paint kind of neatly because I don't want all my sections to be the same color. But it's going to help me stay neat because I have these nice thick lines that don't absorb the watercolor. Okay, so you can see what that looks like. And remember, you can mix colors, but you have to use the tray. So let me get this purple painted and I'll show you to remind you. So I've got this section purple, and let's say I want to do this a new color. I don't want to use the blue or the purple, but I want it to be a similar color. I can put some blue here, clean my brush, get some purple, and mix it in, and I can make a new color. And then that way, it looks different from the other two, but it still kind of matches. Okay. Now, I'm sure somebody is wondering, what if I want to use chalk pastels and watercolor? I'm okay with that, but you can't use them at the same time. So if you decide you want to switch, you've been using the watercolors and you decide you want to try chalk pastels, that's fine, but you have to put your watercolors up first and then you can ask for chalk pastels. Or the other way around, put up your chalk pastels first and then you can ask for watercolors, okay? So we're going to be painting our stained glass nativities on day 2, and hopefully we'll finish them up, and if not, we'll have to take a third day to finish. That's okay. All right, if you have any questions, let me know, but otherwise you can get to work.